I didn't even get my shoes off before she shoved me. Sorry, this room is for real daughters. Sabrina smirked, arms folded at her chest, blocking the doorway like some kind of queen. You can take the basement or the floor, whatever suits you, Madison. I blinked at her in disbelief. Are you serious right now? Sabrina tilted her head and fake pouted. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt your little orphan feelings? Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. My hands trembled. My suitcase slipped from my fingers and hit the hardwood floor with a loud thud. I hadn't even crossed the threshold of my childhood home for 5 minutes before I was reminded, loud and clear, that I wasn't welcome. Behind me, my mom's voice cut through like a dull blade. Don't cause drama, Madison, she said flatly, dragging my mattress from the guest room with one arm. She didn't even glance at me. We already set up a spot for you downstairs. Just be grateful. The mattress flopped onto the porch like trash. Outside, not even in the garage. The porch. Sabrina laughed as if it were a game. Honestly, Mom, you're being too nice. I wouldn't have invited her at all. The reunion hadn't even started yet, and I was already being treated like some stray they didn't want to feed. I swallowed the lump in my throat. My jaw clenched so hard it ached, and I did what I always did with them. I didn't fight back. I took a breath, grabbed the handle of my bag, and quietly dragged it outside. The sun had barely begun to set, but the chill in the air cut through my sweatshirt. I stared at the worn-out mattress lying in the dirt, covered in old leaves and bugs. No pillow, no blanket. Just the pathetic final reminder that in this family, I wasn't a daughter. I was a tolerated mistake, but I wasn't crying. Not anymore. Not after everything they'd done to me. 2 hours passed. My uncle's kids arrived. The driveway filled with new model SUVs and forced hugs. Everyone walked past me, pretending not to see me sitting on a lawn chair near the woodshed. No one asked why I wasn't inside. No one asked where I was sleeping. At dinner, they passed me a plate like they were handing food to a dog. Some dry chicken and cold mashed potatoes tossed onto paper. I didn't say a word. I chewed. I smiled. I kept my head down. Then Sabrina raised her glass and said, "To family." Real family. Everyone laughed. Even my mother smiled. That night, I lay on the floor beside the useless mattress outside, wrapped in my jacket, staring at the sky, and I made a decision. Tomorrow morning, I was going to leave, but not quietly, not this time. At exactly 9:17 a.m., the sound of blades slicing through the wind echoed across the entire neighborhood. Everyone in the kitchen looked up. I was still sitting in the dirt, brushing leaves off my leggings, calm as ever. The helicopter came into view, sleek, black, loud, and hovered directly over the backyard before slowly descending onto the open field beyond the trees. The wind blew everything into chaos. Napkins flew. Plastic cups tumbled across the deck. A few people screamed and shielded their eyes. My mom ran out of the house. "What the hell is going on?" Sabrina followed behind, grabbing her silk robe as the wind messed up her blowout. "Is that for us? Did someone arrange a ride for Grandma?" I stood up slowly, brushing my hands on my pants, not even looking at them. The door of the chopper opened, and there he was, Noah, my husband, dressed in tailored black slacks, sharp jacket, and aviator sunglasses. He looked like something out of a high-end magazine, confident, lethal, and impossible to ignore. He stepped out with a single hand raised, then turned to me and shouted over the blades, "Madison, I'm here, baby. You ready to go?" I nodded once, calm, steady. And the silence that followed behind me, my mother, Sabrina, the entire family, was delicious. My mom looked like she was about to faint. "Wait, what is that?" my aunt whispered. "Is that her husband?" "No freaking way," Sabrina muttered, her mouth hanging open. "That guy's loaded." I slowly walked across the field, past the cousins who never spoke to me, past the step-uncles who forgot my name, past the women who whispered about my job behind my back. And as I stepped into the helicopter, I didn't even glance back. Noah kissed my temple and whispered, "You okay?" I smiled, finally exhaling. I am now. But the best part? They all came running after me. Like clockwork, like roaches when the lights come on. "Wait, Madison!" my mom shouted. "Wait, we didn't know. Why didn't you tell us he was coming?" Sabrina ran barefoot across the lawn, mascara already smudging. Madison, you can't leave like this. We didn't mean it. But I was already rising above them, leaving them in the dirt where they'd left me, and this time, I wasn't coming back. As the helicopter lifted, I sat perfectly still, watching them grow smaller beneath us like ants scrambling in panic. Sabrina tripped on her robe. My mother waved with desperation plastered on her face. It was the first time I'd ever seen them beg. Noah didn't say anything until we were above the clouds. Then he took my hand gently. "What happened this time?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "They made me sleep outside." His jaw clenched. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. But the silence that followed, it felt louder than the blades still humming above us. I expected pity from him, maybe even sympathy. But instead, Noah looked me in the eyes and said something that wrapped around my spine like steel. Never again. We landed at the penthouse 20 minutes later. Not a hotel, not a second home. Our penthouse, the one he built before he ever knew me, but said always felt empty until I walked through the door. He didn't ask if I wanted to talk. He didn't push. He simply handed me a coffee, sat across from me, and waited. "I didn't want you to come," I finally said. "I know." I didn't want to seem weak, like I needed rescuing. He raised an eyebrow. "You didn't. You stood up. You walked away. I just flew the chopper." I laughed through the knot in my chest. It felt good. Too good. And then it cracked something inside me. Because for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't broken. They just taught me to think I was. That night, I lay in a king-sized bed with warm blankets and the hum of city lights outside. And I started remembering, not just what happened at the reunion, but everything that came before it. How I was adopted when I was 2 and raised in a home where I was always reminded I was lucky to be taken in. How my mother never let me forget I was not really one of them. How Sabrina would snatch my hair ties, steal my clothes, lock me out in winter, and every time I told Mom, she'd say, "Don't tattle, be grateful." I remembered being 16 and asked to serve drinks at Sabrina's birthday party like the help. I remembered turning 22 and being told I couldn't join the family portrait because we want one with just the bloodline first. And I remembered the night I met Noah, after a temp job at a charity gala when I was cleaning up wine glasses. And he saw me, really saw me, and said, "You shouldn't be invisible." The next morning, Noah had already made a plan. He didn't say much, just handed me his iPad and scrolled to a series of folders labeled Estate, Realty, and Legal. I blinked at the screen. "What is all this?" "You told me you wanted to find your biological roots," he said softly. "So I hired someone, quietly, just in case." I stared at the files, birth records, a name, an address, a photo of a woman who looked exactly like me, a doctor, living in San Diego, my real mother. Noah leaned forward. "Madison, you don't owe anyone silence anymore, not after what they've done." My heart raced. "I don't want revenge," I whispered. He smiled faintly. "That's fine. Then let's call it something else." "Like what?" "Reclamation." I made the first call that afternoon. The woman, Dr. Julia Mendez, answered with a soft, cautious tone. I could hear the ocean behind her, seagulls in the distance. It didn't take long to confirm the truth. She'd given me up after pressure from her strict immigrant parents. She searched for me years later, but the trail had gone cold. When I told her my name, her breath caught. "I always wondered. Your father passed 2 years ago, but I always prayed you were happy." Tears slid down my face. "I'm working on it." A week later, we met. And the strangest thing? There was no drama, no grand reveal, no screaming or sobbing, just warmth, acceptance, understanding. And in that moment, I realized something I had never fully accepted until then. My adoptive family had nothing I needed, not anymore. Not their approval, not their love, not even their apology. Because what I had now was freedom. Noah had one last idea. I hesitated at first, thought maybe it was too much, but he grinned that devilish grin and said, "You want peace, but they need a lesson." Sometimes closure walks in wearing designer heels and doesn't say a word, just signs the deed. "What deed?" He dropped a file on the table. The deed to my adoptive mother's second home. The one I had unknowingly helped fund through years of forced contributions, family investments, and stolen trust. It had gone into foreclosure 3 months ago. Noah bought it, through a shell company, under my name. You're scaring me, I whispered, but I couldn't stop smiling. You've been quiet long enough, Madison, he said gently. Time they heard what it sounds like when you speak up. The invitation came like clockwork. A thick ivory envelope, gold lettering, Sabrina's engagement party. Held, of course, at the family's countryside estate, the one they always bragged about, the one my mother called proof of their legacy, the one Noah now owned. I held the envelope between my fingers and smiled. They had no idea. Not yet. You sure about this? Noah asked as we stepped onto the tarmac again. Not in a chopper this time. This time, it was a sleek matte black SUV, escorted by a driver in an all-black suit. Positive, I replied. I wasn't returning for drama. I was returning for peace, just not the kind they expected. When we pulled into the long, circular driveway, I saw them, laughing near the front steps, dressed in pastel tones and fake pearls. Sabrina wore white, of course, even though it wasn't her wedding yet. She spotted me instantly. Her face froze, then twisted. But before she could speak, my mother appeared behind her. She saw the car. She saw me. And then she saw him. Noah stepped out first, 6'2", sharp, calm, every inch of him screaming, "Not one of us." And better for it. He offered his hand. I took it. Sabrina scoffed. Wow, so you did decide to show up. I smiled softly. It's your big day. I didn't want to miss it. I'm surprised you could even afford a ride. Noah raised a brow. She didn't. I did. Sabrina blinked. Mom opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And that's when the first shock hit them. Also, I added, handing over a small envelope to Sabrina, you'll need to relocate your little party. She looked down, confused. What the hell is this? Noah spoke before I could. New ownership contract. This property is no longer yours to host events on. It's been transferred, quietly, legally, and completely. You're joking. No, I don't believe you, she snapped, but her fiancé's voice broke the silence. Sabrina, he's not lying. I recognize that name. That holding company bought the deed out of foreclosure last quarter. I work in acquisitions. My mom's voice rose, trembling. You're trying to humiliate us? What's the point of this, Madison? I looked her dead in the eyes. Number you humiliated yourselves. Within minutes, panic spread through the gathering like fire. Guests whispering, Sabrina crying, my mother on her phone, frantically trying to reach a lawyer. And I walked through the house, every room they told me I didn't belong in, every photo I was cut out of, every corner I was told to clean, to avoid, to stay quiet in, and I touched the walls like they owed me something, because they did, and now they answered to me. I was going to let it go, I said softly to my mother as she tried to corner me near the dining room. After the porch, after the way you treated me, I was going to walk away. You should have, she hissed. You don't get to come back and act like you're better than— I'm not better, I interrupted. I'm just free. She blinked. What does that even mean? It means you no longer get to rewrite who I am. Outside, Noah had already coordinated the transfer. The guests were escorted politely to a nearby rented venue. Sabrina was still crying, screaming something about her reputation. And I stood by the window, watching the scene unfold with no glee. Just closure, no revenge, just reclamation. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about power. It was about finally realizing that the little girl they discarded, the one they made sleep on the floor, was never weak. She was just waiting. As I stood on the porch, my porch, Noah wrapped his arm around me. You did it, I nodded. Feels strange? How? Because it wasn't explosive. It wasn't loud. He smiled. Because power never has to be. Later that night, I stood alone in the very same room they once barred me from. The master suite, the one Sabrina had claimed as hers for the weekend. And I laid down, not on the floor, not on a pile of jackets, but in the king-sized bed, looking up at the ceiling with tears quietly slipping down my cheeks. Because the truth had finally settled in my bones. They didn't break me. They forged me. And now, I was done shrinking. I didn't expect to hear from her. But 2 weeks after Sabrina's failed engagement party, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize, and a voicemail that left my fingers cold. Hey, it's Aunt Lorraine. I know I was never kind, but would you come see your grandmother? She keeps asking for you. She's not doing well. My stomach twisted. Grandma Darlene. the only person in that family who ever treated me like I mattered. She once told me, when I was 9, hiding in the pantry after Sabrina had shoved me into a table, "You don't have to look like us to be one of us." I hadn't seen her in 4 years, not since my mother started keeping her away, claiming she was too confused and better off with rest. I told Noah I'd go alone. He didn't fight me on it. He just kissed my forehead, handed me the keys to the town car, and said, "If anyone so much as looks at you wrong, call me." The nursing home was modest, quiet, overlooking a small garden and a row of oak trees. She was sitting near the window, wrapped in a cream blanket, hands clasped in her lap. Her hair was thinner now, more silver than white. But her eyes, they were the same, software sharp, alive. When I walked in, she looked up, and those eyes welled with tears instantly. "Madison," she whispered barely above a breath. "Hi, Grandma." She opened her arms. I fell into them, and for the first time in decades, I felt like home. She asked everything: how I'd been, where I lived, what Noah was like. I told her the truth, all of it, even the ugly parts. She closed her eyes, nodded, and said, "Your mother? She was never meant to raise a soul like yours. She thought love was control. But you needed freedom." Then she leaned in and whispered, "I left you something." The attorney arrived the next morning. He handed me a worn leather journal and a set of keys. "She changed her will last year," he said. "Didn't tell anyone. She wanted it quiet." Inside the journal was a single line on the first page. "This world failed you more than once, my girl. Let this house be your start." The address was for a small lakefront property 2 hours north, her personal getaway spot that no one in the family even knew she still owned. And now, it was mine. When the family found out, the group chat exploded. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, angry texts. Sabrina's message stood out. "You manipulated her. That cabin should have gone to the real family." My mother's voicemail was even colder. "You've always been a taker. You've taken enough. Don't show your face again." I didn't respond to any of it, not out of fear, but because for once in my life, I didn't need to. Noah drove me up to the lake house the following weekend. It was small, simple, blue shutters, a dock that dipped into still water. But the moment I stepped onto the porch, I felt peace. The real kind. Not the kind you beg for or earn with silence, but the kind you build. Through fire, tears, and reclaiming every piece of yourself they tried to bury. That night, Noah and I sat on the dock with coffee and a blanket wrapped around us. He looked at me and said, "You know they'll never say sorry." "I don't need them to." "And what do you want now?" I smiled. "To build something no one can take from me." He nodded, and then, for the first time since this story began, I finally breathed. Not to survive, but to live. 3 months later, I was standing in the same place my mother once dragged my mattress out to, the old family porch. Only this time, I wasn't there to sleep on the ground. I was there because the house had been listed for auction. Noah bought it without hesitation, quietly, legally, through another holding group just like before. It was never about revenge. It was about closure. I didn't tell anyone. Until the notice went out. That's when the text started. "Mom, you're not serious? Sabrina, why are you doing this to us? Aunt Lorraine, you don't owe them a thing. But I just wanted you to know, your grandma would have been proud." I didn't attend the auction. Noah did. And when he returned, he placed a small envelope in my hand. Inside was the final title deed. It was done. The house where I was never welcome now belonged to me. 1 week later, I invited them all. Yes, all of them. One formal, cold, neutral invitation. Same style as the ones they sent me. No explanation. Just a time, date, and address. And they came. Curiosity always wins. They arrived in their luxury cars and smug expressions, probably thinking I was going to gloat or beg for peace. But instead, they found me waiting on the front steps, holding a pen and a small stack of documents. "Welcome," I said calmly. "What is this?" Sabrina narrowed her eyes. "I'm transferring it to charity." Mom's jaw dropped. "You're giving the house away?" "Yes," I replied, "to a program that helps displaced girls who've aged out of the system. They'll have beds, warmth, and safety." "Why would you do that?" my mother asked, breathless. I stared right at her. "Because no girl deserves to be treated the way you treated me." Silence. Noah stepped beside me, holding my hand. Sabrina's fiancé muttered something and walked away. A few others followed. But Mom stayed, trembling. For once, her voice was small. I was trying to protect what was mine, she whispered. I nodded slowly. And I finally learned to protect what was mine too. We left without another word. No explosions, no fights. Just a quiet, full circle end. Back at the lake house, I opened Grandma's journal again. Near the back, she'd written something I hadn't seen before. Sometimes the greatest revenge is choosing not to become what they tried to make you. I smiled and let go.